densest city in the world, and trains dead silent. That is incredible. Welcome to the Lazy Fluency podcast, where we have casual conversations switching between English and Japanese so that you can learn from and with us along the way. I'm Joey.
And I'm Yami.
And the topic of the day is Tokyo propaganda. Before we get into that, make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and or drop a review at whatever platform you're listening on. We appreciate the support. And with that out of the way, Tokyo propaganda. Tokyo isn't the real Japan. If you want to see Japan, you should go to the countryside. Tokyo actually is lame. These are all sentiments I've heard a lot, and I'm sure many of you have heard a lot, and they are complete bullshit. And the reason I am saying that is because my experience in New York has made me realize, oh my God, Tokyo is amazing. And this is not 100% a shitting on New York. I have enjoyed many things about New York, but at the same time, oh my gosh, the fact that a place like Tokyo exists seems like completely impossible, given New York and its current state. I mean, are you generally enjoying your time in New York just before? Like, well, you're not hating on New York here, right? What's your opinion?
まあ普通に楽しいよ。いろんな違いとかあったり。でもなんだろう想像してたのとちょっとなんかギャップがあるなっていうのはまあ何個かあって。例えば
we can start with trans. I've listed a bunch of different categories of things. And so the reason I'm like comparing this to Tokyo is, I mean, I feel like a lot of people make this comparison with largest cities in the world, lots of money going through the cities. And especially as an American, there are a lot of like truths or axioms that are held to be true, or things that are held to be true that I don't think have really any basis of truth in them. And we'll go with the first one, which is when you have a big city, big city, they have to be dirty. Like, I'm saying, it's a given. I've talked to a lot of people and they go, oh, well, it's a city. Or like, I'm saying, or I had a friend I was talking to where he goes, yeah, I just don't like cities. Like, they're loud, the transportation, it's like subways are dirty, and you go on and on. So the first thing I want to talk about is transport. What are your opinions?
バスがね、ちょっとね、難しい。なんか、アプリで MTA の、アプリっていうのがあって、それでなんか行きたいところを入れて検索するとどのバスとか電車使ってその場所に行けるっていうのが、全部出してくれるんだけど、結構なんか不便で、そのバスとかも結構遅れるから、その都度全然なんて言うんだろう、正しいなんていうの、バスとか電車をなんか表示してくれないんだよ。でしかもなんかバスでメトロカードっていうのにお金入れて、それをなんか入れて、でお金払うんだけど、でもそのメトロカードをチャージするのが駅でしかできないから、すぐお金なくなって、で使えないってなると、でもメトロカード以外にもクレジットカード使えるんだけど、でもそのクレジットカードもなんかタッパボーのなんかかざして使えるやつじゃないと使えないし、で私はメトロカードを使ってて、でメトロカードのお金がないからさ、チャージしないといけないじゃん。で駅に行きます。でその駅でチャージしようと思ってもなんか紙幣は受け付けませんって、これも前回のエピソードで言ったけど、そういや、お金入れられないよねっていう。
And then you compare that experience to, I mean, that's actually just one portion of it, which is paying for the card. But as you said, I don't think I've ever seen larger bus delays or subway delays where you see like 20 minutes delays on expectations from when it's supposed to arrive. And that's on top of the fact that already doesn't arrive with that much consistency. And I always keep reminding people, this is not a hate towards New York, but I will say New York it's called the Big Apple. This is where supposedly all the money, I'm saying, all the big wigs, the US has way more money than Japan. Way more money than Japan. It's not even close. I think I checked the GDP, it's like 4 billion or something versus... Yes, straight up. And you just wouldn't believe it. It's just unbelievable. Like in Tokyo, for one, obviously, before we go back to Tokyo, buses... dirty, extremely dirty. There's vomit all. I've probably ridden like 20 plus times. Okay, well, I probably ridden I don't know. Let's see, 15 times just in the subway this far. And common occurrences: vomit on sides of the subway. just general dirtiness, just in general. And this is the thing, I'm not blaming on the people doing it, but I'm just saying it is a state of the inequality in New York, which is you can enter any train and it's like a coin flip if you're going to have somebody walk in and basically do, I guess, like not just begging, asking, sitting in court, but like to the whole subway station, just like there's a whole almost theatrics to it where they go like, here's my life story. Oh, go ahead.
電車とかバスはまだ見てないから電車とかで結構物乞い
Yeah,
そのベガーズの人たちが結構いてこれは絶対日本では見ないことだなっていうのは思ったよね。なんか every
it's literally like a coin flip, but the other thing is even if it's not like a homeless situation as well, you just have no respect for the idea that you're not allowed to make as much noise as you want. In New York, we had people come in, jump into a bus with a saxophone and a boombox, and they weren't homeless. They were advertising a show they were doing that night.
電車でしょ
Yeah, no, sorry, subway. Yeah, subway. And they just right beside me. They just hop in, blast it, and everybody's just like there's no reactions. Like this is just life. And I think a lot of these things are taken to be self-evident when you're in a city, but no, you go to Tokyo.
なんかスピーカー持って爆音で乗ってくる人とかもいるからね。
Yeah. But like I said, then you go to Tokyo, and just to clarify, the reason I'm using Tokyo and not saying this isn't true in all Japan is, I mean, a lot of rural Japan just doesn't have, I mean, a lot of stuff we're about to go through as well. But I just think it's incredible to think Tokyo is the densest city in the world.
そうなんだ。
As far as I think we've talked about that. And the densest city in the world. And trains dead silent. That is incredible.
そうなんかよく言うのが結構アメリカ人に限ったことじゃない。特にアメリカ人が多分すんごい大声で喋るから乗ってきてその人たちが喋るともうみんな振り向くよね。でなんかちょっとなんていうのイライラした顔でみたいな。
Yeah. I mean, and equally, actually, if not more impressive, is they're extremely clean. And there's something this is like that I noticed, and I didn't notice, or I didn't really think about too much, was in New York, all the bench or the seats are straight all metal, which makes sense. They're easy to clean, and they're hard and durable. But in Japan, actually, the seats in the subway, they're actually like a fabric material, i.e. something that could get dirty. If you had a fabric in the New York benches, oh my God, nobody would sit on the benches. I'm positive. I don't want to know.
地下鉄のあれでしょ地下鉄の椅子でしょ
Yeah.
確かにそうだよねそう日本のふかふかしてんだよで
That'd be a terrible idea in New York. You know what I'm saying? You'd see semen all over.
確かにねあとなんだろう
It's just like flexing.
つり革がないニューヨークサブウェイはこれつり革あるやつもあったけどほとんどなかったよね
For change?
倒れないように
tsurikawa, the like hand, what are they called? Not rails, but they have these drop down little, I guess, handles that you can hold on to while you're in the subway.
なんかそれがなくてただのメタルの棒が結構高い位置にあるからさあれ多分背届かない人やばいよね。
I mean, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of lack of. I mean, I don't know how Tokyo is in the disability department with how good it is. I've heard people complain about it, but at the very least. I've seen a lot of small stuff. I don't know if New York had, like, obviously Tokyo in this entire subway has these bumps, these yellow bump like lines.
点字ブロックあれ for blind people.
Yeah, and it has it everywhere, but I still heard that.
確か分かったそれグッドポイントじゃん。目見えない人多分ねニューヨーク暮らしていけないんじゃない
I just don't know. Well, no, I've seen people do it, but it's hard. It's hardcore. But I mean, yeah, I've seen one person or a few people walking around.
これやってなんか棒でさこうやってやってた
Yeah. And it was moving, and this was in the subway actually. This was in the and
絶対難しいしかもだって電車によってはなんていうのこれ何とか駅ですっていうアナウンスがないからさどの駅で降りるかっていうのはさもう目見えない人とかかなりきついと思うよ
Yeah, I mean there's another. So the other thing about I want to compare kind of is there's this weird dynamic of you have obviously people who are having very, very down bad. But then generally speaking, people who ride the subway or any of the public transportation are just default, that's considered a poor thing to do. But and the reason why the people the non-poor people, non-white people, I'm just telling you, subway. If you were just ride the subways and buses, you would think New York is 98% black and Latino, like
そ
straight
れは
up.
本当に気づいた。
And I don't mean Asian. I mean black. I mean it's like the only Asian, just black and Latino specifically.
エイジアあんまいなかったね。たまに時たまいるって感じで。
Not in the subway. I don't. I maybe. Oh
見
yeah,
て
maybe
見て
maybe.
よ
Yeah,
なん
one.
かなんていうの、タイムズスクエアとかそこら辺のなんか中心地に近づくとだんだんホワイトの人とエイジアンの人もいるけど、その他は大体黒人ラティーノ。
Yeah. But I'm just saying we had a discussion like on homelessness in Japan, and you know I still ponder about the clickbaitiness of my title. But Japan, how got rid of homelessness? But in comparison to how I've seen the U.S. cities, and especially New York, and this might be a case of, from my understanding, when I looked at the topic, although there are like Japan doesn't love having homeless people in public areas, and I'm not saying that they're just nice by themselves. There are definitely fewer, given how crazy the population size is, and when I've seen and the way that the homeless people interact with the community, at least from my personal experiences and like a lot of early morning runs and coming around with them, seems to be a much healthier dynamic than I've seen in New York, where they're almost 100% left to fend for themselves. So in my personal experience, I think I talked about it, where there's a lot of homeless people will live around parks, and they'll like clean in the morning, and there are also other like volunteer cleaning crews.
日本のホームレスの人たちでしょ。
Yeah, this was in my experience in like Tokyo and Kyoto as well, actually. And then after they're done cleaning or whatever, they have like areas that are not, they're still kept up, and they're still like the publicly, like there's still the volunteer groups and the Japan's, what's it called? I don't know, whoever's hired to do it, still keep up everything very clean. So you never have one. I mean, obviously there are situations, but I would say it's less common to see homeless people look like they're literally just given up on whatever side of the sidewalk or whatever. Like they're like, no, this is just going to be piss shit central because we don't want to help out anybody here because they're living here.
そのニューヨークのホームレスの人たちは歩道の真ん中とかも歩道の上で暮らしてて、日本ではだいたい橋の下とか、あと公園のベンチとかに、あとたまに池袋とかだと池袋の駅ってなんか屋根とか全体的についてるから、そこでまあ床に寝てる人とかまあいるんだけど、歩道のど真ん中にはいないね、まず。
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I found very interesting, and this is kind of like I don't know, I find this just ridiculous. So what happens is, because poor people are perceived to ride transportation, and I would just say the people who are wealthy don't like dealing with a lot of the awkward encounters of begging and things like that. What ends up happening realistically is you have the poorest people begging and getting money from the poorer people. And you have this weird charity system where the not havers are giving to the not havers.
マクドナルドでさ、
Oh, yeah, this is a good example outside of transport, which is just like basic. This was a great example of this, where
そうマクドナルドに行って、
well, hold up, there's more context behind that. Where this was, so at the very end of a complete day of nothing really working in New York, with bus schedules not being
でせめて
fruitful.
せめてあれだよね、アイスまあデザート的なのを食べれて、でクイックに食べれるものを探してたんだよ。
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there was like we were looking for other places, but then eventually you're like, and that wasn't open. The other thing wasn't none of the food was labeled in another store. Just small other stuff about, you're like, why is this the most wealthy city in the world? What is going on in these stores? And then eventually, let's go to McDonald's. There's like a form of consistency. You wanted to go and compare
一回
them.
は行ってみたいなと思ってて、アメリカのマクドナルドで、じゃあもう今日はうってつけのトライアウトする日だとか思って行ったら、なんかなんていうの、電子パネルで先にオーダーするんだね、ここで。そこに立ってたらね、まずファーストベガーの人がなんか来て、なんかチーズバーガーをなんか買ってくれみたいな。
Yeah. So and then I was like, yeah, okay, sure. And I was like, yeah, I'll buy you a cheeseburger. No worries.
まあ$2ぐらい
I actually didn't even get to see the prices. We'll see what happened. I wasn't even able to see the prices. So what happens? I said, yeah, sure. And then immediately right after that, somebody comes from behind on my right and goes, can you buy me McFlurry? And then I noticed, this is like peripheral vision, that I don't actually know how many people were there, and I'm not saying this was like, obviously this isn't coordinated by any degree. This is just a lot of people probably like are bad on the circumstances, and they all realize that they can't just approach somebody at the same time. But I realized is I was unknowingly kind of signing up by just trying to help out one person, helping out 5 or 6, or I don't actually know how many. I never like turned to the left. I just noticed like, oh, wait a second. I'm actually, by showing a degree of kindness, you get trapped. And like I said, this is like a poor to poor situation. I'm not saying I'm really relatively poor compared to them, but I also don't really have, I'm definitely not made of money. And so, yeah, you have a lot of those instances in New York, and in any store that would be cheaper too. If you want to buy anything that's not into the basically $30 range, which is what you'll find, that's basically how much you have to pay to avoid the homeless, as you have to go into stores where every single item is $30, such that nobody would reasonably buy me this small thing, because it's such a big burden. And so you just have this gap between $30 prices and then straight up fast food. And then if you're going to have a fast food experience, you're signing up to, like whether you want to or not, have a lot of interactions with homeless people.
まずお店で多分そういうことがあったら、多分お店の人がその人を追い出しちゃうね。日本だと。
I don't think that's necessarily better, but what I will say is I definitely think that it is less common, and I mean it is less common, and Japan's wealth is spread out more. Like you have a social net, you have
国のね、補助があるから、なんだっけな、これもなんか友達となんかこういうことがあって、じゃあ日本のホームレスなんで少ないんだみたいな話になって、でなんか調べたら、その国がそのホームレス対策のためになんかシェルターをあげたりとか、ご飯のなんか準備したりとか、なんかそういう社会的ななんていうのサポートみたいなしてるから、なんか少ないんじゃないみたいななって、ここはやってないのかな。
I know some historical like information about New York and homelessness, and same with California, as well as like Portland, Oregon, especially when we were doing research about that. But I think a lot of it is people just don't believe. There was this whole incident where there was a homeless person was saying crazy stuff on the train. And this was like 3 months or 2 months ago. And this military dude did the brave thing of choking him and killing him on the train. And then there was this whole thing where they're like, well, yeah, he deserved it. He was scaring the white women in the or something. I feel like there was, I can't remember. I recall there being a white woman in the story. Maybe there wasn't. But wow. And that scene is or at least not by everybody, but by some population of the U.S., which is bigger than it should be, as the appropriate thing to do. What would you expect? You're scaring everybody. You basically deserve to die. You deserve to die for being poor. And in Japan, they actually have a huge shame built in. And this is there's a whole video that I filmed like almost completely, but it was like, I don't know, 4 months ago, and I haven't gone to editing it because of this really long video I'm working on, where Japan, I think, operates largely on a social level, at least on like the level that people are aware of. I think they operate on a shame-based system, but like on a governmental level, there's a whole bunch of society like safety nets to help people out, and to make sure that's not the situation that people get into. Obviously, right now they're having issues, but it's hard to describe anything in Tokyo as an issue when you go to New York. Like it just seems like hilariously, I don't know, petty. What do you like with the complaints I hear from Japanese people sometimes? Like I think it was like your mom one time was calling a customer service thing, and they like, what is it? They delayed. I can't remember. They delayed on saying like some part of information, and then they're like, what was she saying? Like, oh, this is Japan. Like how you're making Japan's customer service something look bad, or I can't remember what this was, but I guess there's another transition to a customer service where generally I think I found New York people to be nicer. And that's actually something that surprised me. I thought a lot
で
of
も
New
ナイ
Yorkers
ス
would be...
なんかさ結構さニューヨークの人はさ冷たいみたいなよく言うじゃんけどなんか昨日もなんか電車乗っててさなんか一人の女の人いたじゃん黒人のさなんかずっと冗談言っててなんか笑わせてたみたいな
Yeah.
なんか楽しそうな人は結構いるよね
Yeah, but what I would say is that this is another small thing is so you're paying $30 for everything, and this might be this might be because of the fact that a lot of the people working in retail jobs already have a lot of bad circumstances. But I think that I've even seen this at higher end places that we've been to as well. But it's hard to tell why the prices are so high. Other than the fact that you are in New York. Your customer service is, I mean, if I'm being honest, you know what I'm saying? I know there might be reasons for it, but it is some of the worst customer service I've ever experienced in the entire world. Every single shop clerk, anything, asks, it's like they're 1 second away from bitch slapping you across the face. Doesn't matter if it's the bus, the person working in the bus.
そんなあれだったそんな悪い印象あった
Yeah.
普通になんかバスの運転手の人もさ Thank you って言ったら have a nice
Depends.
day
I mean, it's 50. I've had a 50-50. And like, I've noticed that a lot of the signage and postage in like any public space is extremely threatening towards the layperson or the people shopping. And this might be just because this is what you need. Like, I don't know, maybe an American would say, well, it's just a big city, you know, so you have a lot of different people. And to a degree, you have this lack of trust, I would say, towards a lot of, I guess, foreigners who travel, or like tourists going in Japan. And everybody knows I'm not a huge fan of Japanese customer service just because I feel it's robotic. But at the same time, if you look at Tokyo, and you said you compare it to another really big city with a bunch of people traveling in, not as much diversity as New York, obviously, but there is a lot of tourism coming in. It's just obvious that this does not need to be the case. And that this whole idea that you have to be a blunt asshole because it's a big city, I just feel like is completely unfounded.
なんだろう仕事が嫌いでなってるの
I don't know. I think it's partly like a self-defense thing where you can't give anybody an inch, which is something that we experienced where I can even if I'm aware of the, like I said, be aware of for one, actually New York isn't as sketchy as I thought it was, just to be clear. But the second thing is I also in moments I've realized that I have to go against my goody two shoes instincts to blend in. Like for example, I realized that people are all very observant. So if they notice that you pay for a train, like in a bus, like to go on the train, that mentally gets you sorted in a different category. So sometimes what I'll do is pay for the train, but then enter through the back door. Because I'm saying like if I can't afford it, I want to, I'm saying I'll help out the failing transportation as much as I can. But at the same time, I don't want to make it clear that I'm someone who could potentially be taken advantage of.
結構なんかなんだここのバスってさなんだろう前から入っても全然ペイしない人いるんだよ普通に素通りしてでもその運転手の人たちもなんか別に何も気にすることなくそのまま乗っけてくんだけどあれなんだろうね駅でもさバーがあるんだよそのメトロカードとかクレジットカードをタップしたりスライドするとバーが回転して入れるようになるんだけど改札でねそれをなんかこうなんていうの飛び越えて入る人とかも普通にいるしね
Yeah.
システムがなんか面白い
I think this is actually the thing we talked about in the last part, which is, and I don't blame any of the workers for this. I think it's completely understandable. And this isn't a Tokyo specific thing, but this would be, I think maybe you could point to Budo ethics or something like that. But even in retail work at fast food chains, or you could like public services like buses, Japanese people have a lot of pride in what they're doing, which I think is a good thing. I don't like necessarily where I think the pride comes from. I think it comes from like a feeling of obligation and fear for doing something wrong. But at the same time, like I think we talked about how much I really don't like the Ekin-san at any like Japan's like the train stations.
なんか分かった分かった。日本はね、ルールがすんごい細かくて、細かくて、なんて言うんだろう。多いからさ、それに従って、駅員さんはさ、動くけど、ここ多分ルール少ないんじゃない？
No. It's not about there being less rules. I'm saying okay. I think this makes perfect sense. I'm not saying that this should be like these rules should be harshly enforced towards people who don't even have any money to do transportation. But I'm saying the rules don't really matter at all. This is like the other extreme where you're kind of an idiot if you pay for the bus. You know what I'm saying? You're an idiot if you pay for the subway. You're able to tell, oh, this guy is a tourist if he's like expecting good signage. I feel like everything that like my instinct would be like, this is what you should do. This is like what you would expect to do. If this was in Japan, if you didn't do this, you'd get like the Ekin-san would come out and he'd be all like there was a whole discussion we talked about how a worker at the train station was holding up a Chinese family from coming through this gate because the person did not want to double pay. He already paid for, and there was like triple pay for this route that he went through because he'd lost.
切符なくしたんだ。
Yeah, because he lost his ticket, and it was only 900 yen. But he didn't have money on him because his wife, I think they had something, a wallet or something in the purse, and their wife and child walked past, but the father did not. And so the brother was like, no, I will not let you step past unless you give me like 900 or something yen. And it was this crazy hold up where he's like,
っていうかさ、そもそもさ、状況でさ、なんだ、母親とさ、子供がさ、チケット持ってるってことは、それだけ
yeah, no, this is what I was saying.
余裕があるってことじゃん。で、それでなんでわざわざさ、お父さんだけさ、買わないっていうシチュエーションになるのって、なんか頭が硬いよね。
Only the father did not get through because he lost ticket. The other people went through already. And so it was really ridiculous. And we were there luckily, and we were actually able to slightly diffuse the situation. And it probably was heavily motivated by racial prejudice, which totally does exist in New York, to be clear. Like people see like, oh, New York is so diverse. Like, look, everybody, like, it may be kind of infusing diverse with tolerant, but I really don't feel like that. Like, so you enter any subway, like, white people are like, what is like white elephants? I don't know, like extremely rare. Like, especially, I mean, not maybe like depending on where you're going, like there are different parts of the city where they have one more.
クネリケットに行く電車はほぼもう99% white.
Oh yeah. Like if you're talking about the locals, I'm talking about the local trains, not the like express or like if you're going outside of New York to like Connecticut.
本当にもうホワイトしかいない。
Yeah.
でみんなちゃんと洋服着てる。
I'm just saying you see the like.
びっくりしちゃった。
I wouldn't be so fast to say that. Let me put it this way: although there might be more understanding of different types of diversity in your place like in New York, and you might expect to see them more, I feel more comfortable in Tokyo, where I know for a fact that every single Japanese person on some degree is uncomfortable just because they're not familiar with like my skin color or something. But on a subconscious level, I just know it from my experience that there's a prejudice against me for my skin color slightly. It's not in the same way that it happens in New York, where I can say, oh, not everybody is, and there's a lot of people like with similar skin color, but the way it actually affects your day-to-day life is so incredibly minimal, in my opinion, compared to what I believe you can just see it on population levels and entering any subway or interacting with any customer service. There's a whole other like set of dynamics that you have to do, like code switching, which is like when you're changing for different cultures, like how you interact with the services. And so, this was kind of it ended up being a lot about New York, which, I mean, whatever. We only in New York for 2 weeks, so it's not, kind of to be expected. But at the same time, I was like, Tokyo is a marvel. It is incredible.
なんかじゃああれなんだよ、本当に東京のバス電車すごいなと思った。ね、山手線とかでもさ、山手線に限ったことじゃないけどさ、2分おきに来るとか、ね、なんだ、あと乗り換えしにくいか、でも難しい、発展してるからちょっとね、電車乗るのはちょっときついかもしれないな、日本の電車のシステムはよくわかんない人は。 発展しすぎていろんな電車を使えるからさ、ちょっと難しいかもしれないけど、でもすごいよねっていうのはこっち来てから感じた。
Yeah, well, it's not the densha. I'm saying like the fact that a place with that high density, with so many different like pieces connecting, with from the transport to just the general welfare of the citizenry for the size and scale of how big Japan actually is, because I think a lot of people underestimate how big Japan is, which is like the size of California basically, whereas a lot of other people point to Sweden or other places maybe, oh, look at those examples. No, but you're talking about the population, the density. I still don't think those places are comparable. As far as I'm concerned, given the size of the economy and the size of the country and the density of population, I do not think there's anything really comparable to Japan. What, and even maybe some sections of China have like really developed like areas that are like this as well, but I think Korea is like just too small to really be comparable, honestly. And obviously like Japan, we're talking about Tokyo, which is like 20 million, but Japan as a whole, like a lot of these things still ring true. And so yeah, I feel like if you especially like me, some of you've come from like the countryside of America, let no one dissuade you that if you're going to Japan, you definitely should check out Tokyo, because especially if you're a New Yorker, you never in Tokyo, and you think like I'm hating on too much, like I recommend that you go to Tokyo first and then come back and then tell me that, then you can tell me that I'm just hating. But yeah. 戻りました。
We're back.
今回、あゆみが初めてやったことについて話したいと思います。で、まずは、
We're gonna talk about it?
Five Guys の経験。
Oh.
ってこと。
Well, first, yeah.
まず、Five Guys 私が一番好きなバーガー店というかな。
バーガーチェーン。
チェーン。
店。
うん。で、そのいつもシェイクシャック、Five Guys、インアンアウトの3つのなんか三品シンでしたっけ？三
大チェーン店？
三大チェーン店かながあるんだけど、Five Guys はいつもアイダホポテトを使うし、まあいろいろな理由があるけど、一番好きだけど、あゆみはどう思いました？
First, the amount was pretty big. Like I had a milkshake, and it was like this big, like this.
そう。
And then, so the good thing is like they had the calories on the menu, and it was 600 kilocalories.
あ、そうだね。
Yeah.
それをよく見かけることなのそれ。
No. Like I guess like so for Americans, the how do you say that? Obesity is like a problem right here. So probably they just want customers to know that you're taking this amount of calories when you drink this.
どれぐらいだった？
600.
そんなに悪くないそれ。
600 is a lot.
でも2000なんか1 This is a
No, and then
recommended
you
calories.
just don't drink the shake at the shop, right?
So
you will have a shake and a burger, and the burger was like 800 or something. So and then you have fries. Then that like in total it would be like 1,000, I don't know, 500 or something.
日本だとその1日食べるカロリーのおすすめは何？なんか
I guess like for normal adult
平均的だね。
it's like 2,000.
アメリカと同じ。
For guys it's like 2,200.
うん、アメリカだと2000カロリーが理
Yeah,
想だと
but
言われ
just
てる。
having a set meal at Five Guys, it will be around 1,500 to like, I don't know, over 2,000. So, wow, brutal.
わらわら。でも味はどう？
It was good. And I just felt guilty having this. But it is an experience. Living here.
ちなみに、あゆみは、シェイクシャックまだ
No.
食べてないけど、
yeah,
インアンアウトの経験は一応なんか食べたことあるけど、なんて言えばいいんだろうね。本当のインアンアウトの経験じゃない。
Oh yeah, like
かも。
when I went to California for my aunt's wedding, so it's like a whole thing. My mom is pretty like
Superstitious.
Yeah, crazy. And then, so she had like fortune telling when I was born, and the fortune telling said that I could not have beef the entire life, like
So
that would cause like
食べてはいけない。
problems.
うん。
So like I didn't eat beef till like university.
そこまで。
Yeah. And so when I went to my aunt's wedding, it was like I was 17 or something.
カリフォルニアに住んでるってこと。
Yeah. She lives in California, and when I went there, I had the cheeseburger without the patty. So it was just like the bands,
In and out の。
and also just the cheese and then like lettuce.
少なくともフライ食べた。
And I guess I did.
で、フライ比べ。
I don't remember what they had for fries. But I remember it was good.
じゃあ、バーガーじゃなくて、次はジャズ。
Oh, jazz ね。
多分
First time
二日前
experience.
初めてジャズ。
Yeah.
私も実は初めてだった。
Yeah. It's like in New York, jazz is pretty famous.
そう。
Yeah. And then we went to this jazz club at night, and they did that improv.
Tokyo
So
or
improv.
impromptu. Well, jazz is like そもそも half
Yeah, I didn't know that.
impromptu.
So, and then that was a good experience. It was kind of crowded, but since we got the reservation really early, so we got the better seats.
うん。
Yeah, like right in front of the no, like 1 meter away from the players.
うん。5メートルじゃなくて多分3メートル。2メートルかな。
2 meters? But it was pretty close to the stage. So, yeah.
なんか最初の話に戻ると、なんか私は唯一のなんか肌色、なんていうか、colored person. I don't know how you say that in Japanese.
I saw Asian people and white old
Okay,
people,
what I
old
would
white
say
people.
is
And then I remember I didn't
Hispanic.
see any.
アジア、まあ言わないけど、そう、なんて言えばいいの。ジャズはもともとその黒人が作った、
Oh, yeah.
なんていうか、アート。
芸術。
それで、そう、芸術。それで、ジャズを見たときに、いつも、なんか、サクサフォンをやってる、なんか、ルイ・アームストロングだってトランペットだったと思うんだけど、そういうような、まあ、考え方をしてるけど、この、まあ、本当のジャズ、ニューヨークのジャズ見ると、その、ダークスキンがある人は私だけだと思って、で、
I know they were probably colored people behind us. We just didn't
まあ
see
全員
that.
例えばまあ多分 1% くらいかな、0%でそれもなんか印象に残った、でなんかこれすごいみんなが好きなことを作ったんだけど、そのグループは誰も楽しめない、なんか高すぎるから。わかる？なんかその Black Cultureのジャズはなんか一応そのブラックコルチャーの一つだけど、そのブラズを楽しむ人はほぼブラックじゃないという。
Yeah. But players were not colored people.
そう。だけど、その元々のなんかインスピレーションとか、ジャンル全体は、例えばなんか日本人が、なんて言いまいのね、日本の芸術と、なんか、脳かなは全部白人がやってるって感じ。で、観察してる人も白人だったという印象。で、日本人は高すぎるから味わえないみたいなこと。でも、もうめっちゃ楽しかった。で、最後は、rooftop movies。
Yeah, rooftop movies.
屋上上映
Yeah, sure.
かな
Yeah. And then I don't think we have it in Japan. But I don't know, I just don't know, maybe. But yeah,
東京タワーの
ねえねえねえ
上映とかあったら。
So yeah, it was better than I expected. But oh yeah, I thought I could just like sit on the, I don't know, like shiba.
Grass and lawn.
Yeah, but there were chairs which were kind of a little bit uncomfortable, but it was adorable. Yeah. And then watch the 10 things I hate about you for the first time to see that, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
私も見たことない。意外と面白かった。
Yeah.
で、もう今週のニューヨークの出来事でした。でも楽しかった。
That was pretty short.
Welcome back to the final section. You made to the final section, send an email to lazyfluency@gmail.com with a comment, question, language related and or otherwise. And this week we have one comment from Shakox, which I've split up into 3. And this is the first part, addressing last week's my questions about how do you find truth? If only the library of Babel had a TikTok algorithm. I like to say, find the most useful truth, even if that is problematic. Like when people are looking at their car making a noise or something and scroll past 9 people saying, take it into the shop, and find the one person who says it's probably nothing and then take the confirmation bias route. Yeah, I mean, I fundamentally just feel like the confirmation bias route is actually a huge problem into finding the most useful truth. Because I don't know if this is maybe this is the not most progressive it takes, but I feel like a lot of times people think that they know what is best for them. And I think that people are a great, you know what I'm saying, they have great intrinsic insight into parts of their psyche. But there's a reason that things like therapists exist. And there's a reason that doctors exist. And people just don't live going, I will make every decision without anybody else's input about what is good for me. And so when I think of like finding the most useful truth for yourself, I feel it is hard to, I guess meta question is, how do you know what is actually going to be useful for you? Because you are the judge, you are the one who has to judge what is useful for you. I'm not sure if that makes any sense.
TikTok とかでさ、ずっと時間潰してるとさ、その、なんだろう、useful information をさ、ゲットする時間がさ、意味のないただのダンスとかに取られるわけじゃん。
I mean, everybody knows. I don't know if I think I've said, I think I had like, I hate TikTok. Yeah, no, I really don't. I'm still, you know what, call me a boomer. I don't like TikTok. I think it is complete cancer. I think it is brain rot. I've still, yeah.
いや、ものによるけどね、たまにさ、
I don't.
エデュケーショナルなやつもあるけど。
I think that's a bad format for education. I think you have to fundamentally simplify things to the point of just being tidbits and facts, and it's no longer, and you lose all context and meaning. It's like, you know, I don't remember what it's called. Maybe I should call out a company, but I've heard about this new, oh God, I think I remember the name, but you know what, I'm not going to say the name. There's a company that breaks down stories into like 15-minute like reviews, basically, not reviews, but summaries, kind of like Spark Notes, which I think we've talked about before, where it takes a full story and then breaks down its most important things into 15 minutes. And to me, that is like the equivalent of, this is a cliche thing, and I actually have a soccer coach who I really much don't like. He would always say this, but the journey is kind of the most important part with understanding a lot of things, especially to understanding it on a important or helpful level, where they're like facts that you can take away from a story, like X is bad. This is why this led to bad stuff. And that's not really the point. Like if you the reason books aren't a 10, 15 second summary of the themes in the books, and then the reason they are a whole story or they have a whole narrative is because that elevates and helps you understand. Like if you think of books as a form of communication, all the unnecessary information is not unnecessary. And in a similar way, I feel like the way with TikTok videos, where condensing down something into like 2 facts or whatever, like a fun fact, does not actually convey, in my opinion, a lot of the important information. It's like, let's say, I don't know, racism is bad. I could read you a book, say, today we have I don't know a brief summary on Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream." Racism is bad. And then you're like, wow, wow, that was really, I got it. And then can you tell me what that was about? Well, racism is bad. And you're like, that's not really, you really missed the point. And yeah, I don't know. So maybe, I don't know if you feel like you've, because I read some comments and I've been watching, I've read some other videos kind of on this subject. It's like a very meta question that I don't know if has a great
Meta
answer.
question.
Yeah, it's like a question about a question. So it's I'm not asking about how you find like facts or how do you find the truth in that sense. I'm trying to like I'm not talking about the scientific method, but I'm saying even in before you arrived at the question you want to answer, how do you determine what question you want to ask? And I guess we're doing that subconsciously all the time. But I guess I would say Shaka is like on a population level, I don't think people are very good at managing their time in a way that is optimizing stuff that is good for them. Hence, like all of our addictions to smartphones and social media, where optimally you'd like to think that if we could actually control that and make the best decision for ourselves, we would not have as many like a massive mental health crisis as we are at the moment. Not to, like I said, and that's population level. So I'm not attributing individual responsibility to people in the situation. But anyways, this is the next part of his comment. Just to rebuke the idea that Japanese news isn't good at keeping attention, I counter with Weather News Network. They're internationally acclaimed for the cute weather girls. They have tons of Instagram followers for weather news people and are getting tons of views live on YouTube. I mean, are you aware of Weather News Network? Weather News Network.
それは知らないけど、大体朝の情報番組何個かあるんだけど、お天気予報の時間になるとお天気お姉さんとか出てくるんだよ。でその人そうやってる人たちは大体可愛い綺麗で、なんか普通になんかモデルやってたりとか、なんか女優やってたりとか、なんかそれと一緒でしょ。
Okay. Yes, and so I mean, this one specifically got popular because of a viral video on YouTube, which is like 地震速報をお伝えします。念のため what was it called? Something から離れてください. There's just like a very famous thing where a Sayuri something, I can't remember her name, but she basically it was just actually normal Japanese news reporting, but it popped up in the algorithm because she's having a normal trivial conversation about chess, and then all of a sudden the screen changes, and then she gets an alert that there's a jishin. And then she's like, ha ha ha, jishin soko tsutaishimasu. And then that became really popular. So here's my thing, Shalkos, about this. I can't, okay. If I tell you, what you're telling me right now is I say, I find a lack of enjoyable news. When I talk about news, I'm talking about the substance of the news, the way presentation related to the news. But when you say, to me, you're making a sex sells argument. Sex always sells. In Japan, cuteness, or by the byproduct of cuteness, which is really the sexual component of it, because unless you're watching a bunch of guys, like if you can enjoy the Japanese news while watching a guy that you think like an ugly Japanese boring man, you know what I'm saying, like a non, like in terms of his like attire and appearance, then I will concede that the news is entertaining in itself. Because I watch news all the time. I'm not sexually attracted or like think it's super cute with them, and I find it engaging. If you can honestly tell me that you can engage in Japanese news in that fashion, you find that entertaining, then I'll concede my point. But right now, when you're just saying they're cute weather girls, I'm just saying, bro, they're always cute girls. Like a cute girl, like yeah, they're cute girls in Japan. Like what? Like does that make what their news? Does that make like then you could argue anything?
なんでさお天気お姉さんなんで男の人もいるんだよ。なんか男の
They don't get views. They're not getting views.
あれ天気予報士がいて、でその横に お姉さんがいるの。でその人は天気予報士ではない。ただラインを読むだけだと思った。
Yeah, I'm just saying like I think I've made my point, but I guess I have even in America. I wonder if they do this for Japan. They have a whole thing where when the weather gets really bad, they'll go to the like very like a bunch of windstorms or like flooding. They'll go to the worst part of the flooding and then do the weathercast from there. Even though so there's meme where there's only like about a foot of water, but they shot it like in this section of the area that was particularly flooded, and then there's like a camera pan, and someone looks like they're up to their like
かわいそうだよ
waist
ね
in
あそこ
water.
に行きたくないよね自分からだと
But then the camera pans over, and you have somebody walk right beside them, like a little right behind them, and the water's only this high, and so they're just like making it look way worse than it is. But
いやそれはまだでまあそうだよねそうなるよね
but yeah, I guess I respectfully disagree that the existence of cute girls makes something entertaining. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? There's a big population of the Japan appreciators and cultures who are really into the kawaii or into the Japanese girls as a form of entertainment, whether it be through like anime and they happen to like school, what is it called? Idol anime, or in my opinion, a lot of the specific anime are just a bunch of groups, collection of cute girls. I'll tell you that is not my no hate, but that is not my. You know what I'm saying I'm as a man reading Legend of the Galactic Heroes with approximately I don't think a woman has been introduced to the story at this point in time. That is not. That's not my thing. That's not. I feel like I'm being pandered to anytime I see just a bunch of cute girls. But yeah. Also, and the last comment he made was American-based communication, or American communication-based. Sorry, very different meaning. I have tons of conversations in broken Spanglish and hand symbols, and some of my best work friends are that kind of relationship. You'd be surprised at how complex a conversation you can have with a few overlapping words and a lot of nonverbal communication. Have you had to use nonverbal communication, especially like in the medical setting? With you have to like deal with people who speak Spanish, right, and don't speak any English.
結構なんかドクターズでもさそんなスパニッシュまあちょっとはアンダースタンドとかちょっと喋れたりとかするんだけどなんかここが痛いですとか言うときになんか秋とか秋って here でしょ、で秋みたいななんかそのまあノンバーバルではないけどだいたいなんか触ってここ痛いここみたいな言えばさだいたいだって一つの単語でもわかるじゃんだからそういうのも多いよね
I think we've had like a brief discussion about like non-verbal usage, and I think I've talked about how expressive like right now I guess for the podcast I've gotten used to changing how I talk a little bit as well as changing how I gesture, but when I'm actually speaking to people outside of like a podcast setting I gesture quite a lot, and if I'm speaking Spanish or with someone who's a Spanish speaker, there maybe depends on what region they are from, but there's a whole lot of gesturing, and I wonder why that exists. There's definitely like a functional reason, right? You'd assume.
なんか英語だとねやっぱジェスター多いと思うなんか日本だと絶対しないわ
No, but I'm wondering what reason, like these are population level things, right? So there's probably some benefit in that language or in that culture for why gesturing is more effective. And I wonder, are some languages just bad at communicating, and so you need gestures to overcome that communication gap? Or like maybe gestures in Japan make people feel like you're, I don't know, arrogant or something, and they're not there. But yeah, I definitely think I'm trying to think if I've ever had a gesture. Things I've never been somewhere where I haven't been able to communicate. Like I've been to Spanish-speaking countries and I speak Spanish, and I've been in the U.S. and I'm trying to think, have I been in a situation? And when I went to Japan, I already spoke Japanese. What's like the most, like if you've been somewhere and you like just couldn't, have you ever been somewhere and just you don't know the language at all that you...
なんかあれだ中学の時にオーストラリアになんか2週間ホームステイしたことあるんだけどその時鼻水のことノーズウォーターがすごいっていうノーズウォーターみたいに言っててでもそれ多分その時こうとかやってたんだよノーズウォーターって言って分かんないじゃん多分ラニーノーズじゃん
Yeah. I guess you have a really good example where you have a friend who went abroad into a like European country where she does not speak the language at all, and they don't speak the language, and it was supposed to be for like an English learning like program, but then within the first week she got I don't know, some sort of infectious disease or virus.
What?
Is like a virus or something.
急性腎盂腎炎
Yeah, and has basically bacterial, and has basically been like bedridden and had to go to a whole hospital system despite not being able to communicate with a single person really.
まあでも Google 翻訳とか使ってたっぽいよ。
Yeah. No, but I'm trying to imagine like that level of you need to communicate your medical situation and understand with a doctor, and you have no language for communication. I wonder how gestury that conversation might have been.
ね、どうなんだろう。ちょっとその話も帰ったら聞いてみたいけどね、直接。
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for the comments so much. Yeah, I always appreciate them. That bell means we reached the end of today's episode. Thanks for joining us, another lazy conversation towards fluency. If you have any language-related questions and are just looking for general advice, send an email to lazyfluency@gmail.com, and we might respond in the next episode. Also, make sure to check out our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and more. We'd appreciate the support. This has been Joey.
And Yami.
Signing off.
じゃあねー。